एक ही झटके में कोई फ्रैंचाइज अपनी बरसों की प्लानिंग और करोड़ों की इन्वेस्टमेंट क्यों बर्बाद करेगी, सिर्फ एक महीना और सर्वाइव करने के लिए? Why would a team willingly destroy years of careful planning and millions in investments in a single stroke just to survive 1 month? By August 2026, this question has become the daily reality for front offices across Major League Baseball. As the playoffs loom, contenders face a suffocating pressure to validate their season, and the window to acquire talent slams shut. This creates a severe economic crisis. The league is currently fractured between a massive pool of desperate buyers and a tiny handful of hesitant sellers. When demand spikes and supply vanishes, you get an absolute market vacuum. You can hear the effects of that vacuum straight from the clubhouse. After an abysmal 1-0 loss to Miami, Philadelphia Phillies star Bryce Harper stood in front of reporters and delivered a blunt assessment. "I think we need some help."
Harper's plea exposes the central economic truth of the 2026 deadline. The desperation of contending teams to win a championship vastly outweighs the actual supply of players who can push them over the finish line. That imbalance creates a unique environment where a single player can become a market monopoly. Tarik Skubal, the reigning American League Cy Young winner, is currently the linchpin of the entire 2026 trade season. Skubal pitches for the Detroit Tigers, a team facing a brutal dilemma. Sitting just 3.5 games out of a wildcard spot, Detroit's front office has to decide whether to make a legitimate push for October or cash in on their absolute monopoly of the starting pitching market. If Detroit decides to sell, the prospect capital required to pry Skubal away will be astronomical. Contenders will have to gut the top tiers of their minor league systems to even get Detroit's president of baseball operations on the phone. These bidding wars are driven by highly specific, ticking clocks. The Los Angeles Dodgers, for instance, learned that Shohei Ohtani's anticipated return to the pitching mound is on hold due to knee and biceps issues. Now they suddenly need an ace to stabilize their rotation. When a team holds a true monopoly in a market filled with desperate buyers, standard valuation models collapse. The price is no longer tied to the player's statistical output. It is dictated by how much a contender is willing to overpay to save their season. Looking at the gap between teams needing help and the players actually available, the catcher market is in a state of total collapse. You have 6 major contenders, the Yankees, Red Sox, and Dodgers among them, all fighting over a supply list that is essentially empty. The most obvious targets are already off the board. Oakland's Shea Langoliers has a torn meniscus, and Adley Rutschman is untouchable because his Orioles are firmly entrenched in the AL wildcard race. This severe drought transfers immense leverage to wildcard seller teams. The Miami Marlins suddenly have multiple teams calling about Liam Hicks, and the St. Louis Cardinals can field premium offers for their backup minor league prospects simply because they have a surplus of catchers. Finding a body is only half the battle. Catchers face the unique challenge of staff integration. If a team acquires a new catcher mid-season, that player has to learn the nuances, preferences, and pitch shapes of an entirely new pitching staff on the fly, while in the middle of a playoff race. Extreme positional scarcity warps reality. It turns average backup players into premium commodities, forcing buyers to make highly risky, expensive compromises just to put a warm body behind home plate. Let's look back at the Phillies to see how this market pressure translates into the clubhouse. Entering late July, Philadelphia lost 8 of 11 games following the All-Star break. In 6 of those games, the offense managed to score 1 run, or 0. That slump prompted Bryce Harper's public cry for reinforcements, but interim manager Don Mattingly immediately pushed back. Mattingly called out the tendency of players to act like general managers, attempting to downplay the rising panic in the clubhouse. Mattingly knows this tactic well. He compared the situation to his days playing for George Steinbrenner, noting how the legendary owner would intentionally use the media to rip into the team, specifically to cause a stir and manufacture urgency. But public clubhouse tension creates a massive liability for the front office. When your star player announces to the world that the team needs help, it backs President of Baseball Operations Dave Dombrowski into a corner, stripping away his ability to walk away from a bad deal. The opposing teams know Dombrowski has to make a move. When psychological panic meets extreme market scarcity, front offices lose their negotiating leverage entirely. They cross the line from strategic operators to panic buyers. Every deadline deal centers on timeline exchange, liquidating future potential to buy immediate performance. Acquiring a superstar like Tarik Skubal directly drains the talent pool, selling off the exact players needed to keep the franchise competitive in the coming decade. There is exactly one reason to accept that level of impending franchise risk: the singular, immediate goal of winning a championship. Shurome hamne puchata, why willingly destroy years of planning just for 1 month? Front offices do it because the immediate, suffocating pressure to win today completely eclipses the fear of tomorrow's collapse. This is the ultimate irony of the August 3rd deadline. The very deals that cause a front office to celebrate winning the day are often the same ones that hollow out their roster for years to come.